Tom, as New York Times guys, we are both guilty of being members of the mainstream media. One of the things that's happened with great velocity in the context of what you've been talking about has been the discreditation, the disparagement of the mainstream media, but discreditation of fact-based analysis. What can we, as members of the mainstream media, do to regain the trust of viewers and readers?
That's a really good question. Next question, way back there. You know, I like you, Warren, I think and worry about this every day because, you know, one of the things I question is, did we lose it or was it stolen from us, you know? Because I don't think the New York Times operates any differently from when you were foreign editor and I was out there, you know, in the Middle East for you. I think what's new is that we have an anger industry. I think the biggest industry in America over the last 8 years was the anger industry that deliberately made people angry and stupid. I got an email this morning from a friend of mine who said, shame on the New York Times for putting this Donald Trump allegations about, you know, misbehavior in Russia on the front page. Shame on you. This is just unsubstantiated allegation. And I very calmly said to this guy, well, first of all, it's on the front page of the Wall Street Journal and every other newspaper in the world. The fact is, we've known about this for 2 weeks. We didn't publish it because it was unsubstantiated allegation. The story that we reported was that our 3 intelligence chiefs informed Trump and Obama about this. Now, if that isn't news, I don't know what, are we supposed to ignore that? But it gets immediately politicized as you New York Times guys spreading evil rumors about Donald Trump, as if we're the only ones in the world who did it. So I've known about this story personally for 2 weeks. Didn't do anything with it because I couldn't substantiate it. Thought it may never come out. But what came out was the fact that our intelligence chiefs, as you know, did this, and we of course had to report that. And so I think there is an anger industry in this country, and now because of the internet, it's very loud, and so that's a real challenge. You know, and then to conflate, if we get a story wrong, people say fake news. No, we get things wrong, and when we get them wrong, as you know, we correct them the best we can. We're not out there generating deliberate lies to make money. So I think you have to start there. The second point is that, look, Mark Zuckerberg, when this fake news story came up, said, that's crazy. It didn't affect the election. It's kind of nuts to say we had anything to do with fake news. To which I said in my column this morning, let's see, Mark, you wanted all the New York Times readers, you want all the New York Times advertisers, but you want none of the New York Times editors like Warren Hogue. You don't want to pay them. You want to actually use an algorithm. Well, if you go to my column today, you'll see a comments next to it, hundreds of them, I'm sure by the end of the day. There's actually a human being watching those comments. And if someone says a bad word or something false, that they'll take it down. And I tell the story in my book about how YouTube was running Miller beer ads on ISIS videos. Of course, YouTube didn't decide one day to run Miller beer ads on ISIS videos. The algorithm was doing it. And Google depends on its viewers to report things, you know. But if they don't report things, guess what? That's when Uber, you know, does surge pricing in the middle of a terrorist attack in Sydney. Well, they didn't decide to do surge pricing when everyone wanted to get out of central Sydney. The algorithm did it. And so we're letting algorithms make moral judgments that human beings, you know, normally should do. So that's another strain. But I think the third and most important thing we can do, Warren, it's a long-term project. We have to teach digital civics to every kindergartner now. We have to teach them, first of all, how to behave and speak on the internet, that just because it's free doesn't mean you can slander or slur people or friends. But most importantly, we have to teach them how to think, this is not my idea, it's a Stanford professor, how to think horizontally, not vertically. That is, you can't just read something on the internet, because the internet's an open sewer of untreated, unfiltered information. You have to move horizontally. Okay, the internet says this, let me check that here. Let me check that there. We have to digitally train now our young people in order to understand how to read unfiltered news. And I think this has to start at kindergarten, and we need digital civics. The Stanford study I quoted is horrifying. because it's based on Stanford students. And they gave them things like a story, one of these native news stories that was written by a banker about the banking industry. And they asked them what was wrong with this story. And not a single one of them said, God, it was written by a banker about the banking industry. So we have a real problem, and we're just at the beginning of this, and it's going to require massive education, and I think it's the only way. But also pushback, you know, on when Kellyanne Conway says, you know, you and the media, I mean, you don't listen to what Donald Trump says. You have to look into his heart to understand that when he says, when he makes fun of someone with a mental incapacity, you have to understand in his heart he was really just trying to be kind to him. I mean, you have to understand this is our next minister of propaganda. This is the president's spokesperson actually said that with a straight face. And so unless journalists are really right on it, first we were told that we took Trump literally, while other people just took him figuratively. Stupid us. We took what he said seriously. Now we're told that don't even take it figuratively. You have to look into his heart to understand it. These are signs of the apocalypse. I mean, this is sheer madness. And but that's what we've got coming. So I think we really have to push back, and we have to be proud of what we do. I'm not on the defensive about what I do. I make mistakes, I try to correct them, but we have to really defend what we do and not be in a crouch from these people. So thank you for the question.